Vasudevaya. So, wow, who could imagine that on February 14 I get asked to speak about Valentine's Day? It's kind of funny how over time, with cultural shifts and different types of thinking, how much things change. And in relation to this particular event, and now, of course, when it became the big focus for anybody that's trying to sell you something, they probably even got Valentine's messaging on baby food, who knows? But like everything, probably toilet paper has got Valentine's message. Who knows? It's just like crazy land. And of course, people that sell stuff see it as a fantastic opportunity to milk you of money. But they throw out all this messaging and everybody gets lost in the messaging, like, Valentine. And this name, he was actually a saint, considered a saint of the Catholic Church. And I think it was in about 400 AD or CE now. That he was around, and he was actually executed by a Roman emperor because of his unwillingness to give up what he was doing. And he was known for rendering support to Christians. I mean, Christians used to be considered like really bad news. That was on the wrong team. They had another religious fanaticism going on, and if you didn't like our gods, then we would kill you in the most horrible ways. I mean, it was like gruesome what they used to do. And when people were rounded up and imprisoned by the Romans, Valentine, which is from the root valens, which actually means like strong or powerful, but not in the muscular sense. Strong or powerful, and also worthy. I mean, that's a pretty interesting combination of things. It speaks to another era, another time, when people sort of had different sorts of values than just crass materialism. And one of the things that he used to do when he would go and visit these imprisoned Christians and minister to them and tell them to keep the faith. I mean, can you imagine keeping the faith with a lion chewing on you? Or, you've been set alight in fires, bonfires and stuff. It was really gruesome. And so one of the things that he would do, apparently, at least legend has it, he would cut small hearts out of parchment paper, and he would bring these into the places where all the prisoners were being kept, and he would slip them to remind them to stay strong in their vows and to rest in the love of God for you. I mean, that's really far out. And now we got, the heart. This way you see the hearts everywhere. This is where the symbolism comes from. But now it's about, can be about hooking up. I don't know. It's lost that sort of magic. He became what was considered the patron saint of love and loving relationships during the really early medieval period, a medieval, when they had knights and there were, courts and everything, and there was this notion of what was called courtly love, and courtly love was like, the knight standing in the court and the queen who's young and beautiful and not really being paid much attention to by the king who just married her because of a family and a power kind of trip. And so he would feel so sad that she's so nice and she's been so badly treated, and his heart would be aflutter for her, and she would sometimes cast a wistful glance out the corner of her eye at him and drop a handkerchief perhaps, which he would then pick and keep forever and bring into battle with him and just be a heroic dude and go out and do things in her name and die in her name. And they never get to even touch or kiss, let alone go any further than that. And so Valentine became, considered the patron saint of this really high and ethereal kind of, very pure kind of love. That's a long way from where things are, where things are today, right? But it speaks to a transcendent reality, a spiritual truth, a spiritual reality. We all yearn for this perfect love. Even when people are in relationships and they may be sharing some, deep feelings and love for each other, they can be, watching a love movie or reading something and just like, we become drawn and moved, knowing that what we have, maybe there is a higher thing, there is a higher ideal. So in the Vedas, the reference to this most pure and transcendental love, they use the word prema. They would actually use different words for the love expressed between people and material relationships, and this spiritual condition that's actually really part of who we are. It's an eternal part of the soul itself. The great spiritual teacher Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he described and quoted a verse found in the Vedas, that this deep and natural condition of eternal spiritual love, the most perfect love, actually resides within the heart of all living beings. It is part of your eternal spiritual nature. And through the process of meditation using transcendental sound, this natural condition gradually becomes uncovered and begins to manifest. I am very much, although I have a background in different types of yogic practice and things, my personal practice is very much rooted in the bhakti tradition. And the highest attainment in bhakti is the full realization and experience of this absolutely ecstatic and transcendental loving relationship with the actual Lord of our heart, the Param Atma. In the original manifestation of this Paramatma, Ishvara, Bhagavan, the awakening of this transcendent love. And so in this tradition, people are not encouraged to avoid relationships. In almost all yogic tradition, and I'm talking about the authentic, I mean, what goes on today is just like mind-boggling. But in the authentic traditions, almost all yogis would steer clear of relationship because it carried the connotation of being bound to this world. And when I develop attachments for the world and things of this world, then it binds me to this wheel of samsara, of repeated birth and death within this vast ocean of material existence, which is considered a suffering condition. And so they really avoided it. There were serious ramifications to being on your deathbed and meditating upon whatever you meditate upon, whatever you're fixed in, whatever you're deeply attached to, that very much directs what's going to happen once you leave this particular body. But in the bhakti tradition and the karma yoga tradition, it was understood that it is better to have feelings for someone else than to be cold and have no feelings for anyone. That was considered a very isolated and lonely place that will not bear sweet fruit. In the practices associated with this kind of philosophy or this thinking, the greatest attainment would be to leave the body and to merge into this limitless ocean of transcendental and spiritual light known as the Brahman or Brahma Jyoti, which is the most amazing experience. There's nothing in this world that can compare to that. But in the bhakti tradition, they say that when you compare the experience of transcendental spiritual love to the experience of merging into this ocean of spiritual light, it is like comparing the amount of water in the hoof print of a cow in the ground to a vast ocean. That's how, this is not an exaggeration, it's not hyperbole. So in this tradition, the idea was that when people cultivate relationship, whether it's partners in life, it's got out of fashion to say husband and wife. I don't like that. I think that's weird. That people get upset if you say that. Sorry. Just people have been doing it for thousands of years, and we do something in the last 20 years and we think that's really enlightened. Not necessarily. But the relationship between friends, the deep relationship between actual real friends, the relationship between parents and children and their parents, it was understood that the focus should not be just inwards and on each other. That never turns out super wonderfully. That if you have two people and they are on the same journey, they are going in the same direction, both aspiring to attain this condition of spiritual love, and they see each other as intimate friends and partners on this journey, whether it's in any of those relationships, We see each other as fellow pilgrims on this sojourn, and we seek to support and help. We grow in our care. We don't become less caring and more cold. We should actually grow in our care and compassion and just be really overwhelmingly concerned for the eternal well-being of this person. And similarly, they're behaving the same way. And you're heading in the same direction. You have a common focus, and that focus is not each other. If you remove any higher goal, any higher aspiration, and just focus on each other, it generally doesn't go super well. It gets old kind of fast, quite often. And so in the Bhakti tradition and the karma yoga tradition, which are actually part of, the word is used differently now, part of what's also called the Kriya Yoga. There was this understanding, there was a term, it was called Yuktya Vairagya. Vairagya means renunciation, to not be attached to the things of this world. And Yuktya means the practical engagement of things in a higher act of service and love, to where you have an actual focus, you have the aspiration of growing in your love for the Supreme, and you are aiding and assisting each other, moving together in this journey, then everything can become completely spiritualized and actually become perfect. And that is something that people actually and unfortunately don't know very, very much about. And so when we reference some of these higher ideals, associated with Valentine, of chivalry and of courage and of worthiness and of purity, and a higher state rather than just down there. As the Beatles used to say, why don't we do it in the road? That's dog life. There is something more noble, and unfortunately we don't. It's kind of like we don't see the examples, and people have got disconnected from that which is higher and more noble and more pure and more meaningful, and that can really contribute wonderfully to your life and your experience of this journey of life, and contribute wonderfully to your experience of death. Because that's coming, that's around the corner. And for one who has led the appropriate type of life, it's no big deal. That's like opening the door and walking through. No drama. So, for me, as we try to do with everything, even that which is now considered so mundane, Valentine's Day, we can see it from a spiritual perspective. We can reflect on our own life and what are the things that I actually need to do. Spiritual life is a process of cultivation. Spiritual, just like taking care of a garden. If you just throw a few seeds in there and water it once and walk away and come back and expect to have a beautiful garden overflowing with veggies and flowers, you're dreaming. You have to get out there and do the work. And similarly, in spiritual life means we have to do the work. We need to apply things in a very practical way. This is called sadhana, the means for spiritual attainment, to build a personal practice. So just like to encourage people a little bit in that regard. Anybody have any question? If not, we will chant. And just thinking about going full Elvis, but not like you think. I remember before I moved back to New Zealand, I was visiting, and my friend here, Paramahamsa Das, had performed this amazing service of when he came back to New Zealand, of finding somebody that had been following a spiritual path for some time, and a major chunk of his life he had sort of cruised off the path, and as he tends to do, goes around and looks for people in need of help and aid and assistance, and helps steer him back. And it happened that he discovered that he had very advanced case of cancer and was about to leave his body. And so he was in a hospice. Where was that? Ponsonby, okay. He was in a hospice run by the Catholic Church. They take in almost anybody. It's like quite far out. And so we used to go up there, and I spent a few days up there, and just like for 4 or sometimes 5 hours, we would just chant the same melody and the Maha Mantra. And you couldn't believe what it was like. The nuns used to come and open the door. We'd close it because we didn't want to disturb anybody. They'd open the door so everybody could hear. It was like, it was just flowing out everywhere. And Radha Dasi and I, we were coming along, and I had the guitar with me. And we got in the elevator, and some gentleman got in with us, and he said, "Oh, so you guys are the entertainment on the second floor." And we said, "Oh, I hope we're not disturbing you." Yeah, actually, I'm here with my niece. She was quite young, and she was dying also of cancer. And he said, "No, it's so wonderful to hear. It's so nice." So this is the day of love. So we're going to do